We're at PAX East on the Twitch stage, and I have the pleasure of being with the Grey Goo team here. We've got Andrew, lead designer.
Yep.
And we got Ted, executive producer. And you guys want to tell us a little bit about Grey Goo?
Yeah, sure thing. So Grey Goo is Petroglyph and Greybox's venture back into the RTS genre. We really wanted to go to looking at the genre and going back to the core and make a real good core RTS where everything as far as like base building, economic management, and strategic combat all mattered and made sense and was in a balance again.
Right.
We kind of looked at the genre as a whole over the last 20 years and said, hey, you know, things are kind of out of whack. The core RTSs are missing. They're no longer in the, where are they? And we put together Grey Goo as an effort to go back towards that core and make a great fun game for everybody.
And you guys have some experience, as I understand, in this arena, right?
Yeah, Petroglyph's got a lot of experience with a lot of people, talented people who've worked on pretty much any RTS you can name. We've either worked on it, and I mean, we would almost say there's like a 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon separation on any RTS for anyone that works at Petroglyph.
Sounds like a dream team to me.
Yeah, we got a lot of great talent. So.
Oh, no, audio shoot. But yeah, so I mean, what makes Grey Goo different than like like any other RTS right now?
So Grey Goo really goes, like I said, it was going back to that core. We took the look at everything that was about an RTS and what made it fun, and said, hey, let's go ahead and build that up from scratch.
Right.
Let's go back and see what lessons we've learned, take the last 20 years of experience and say, hey, instead of going zig, let's go zag.
Right.
Where did it make fun? How do we get it to be fun for the player? We wanted every choice you make to be something that was meaningful and strategic in the game that really had an impact on it, and not just something that you were doing for the sake of doing it or for repetition's sake. It was a play. If we were going to have you spin a plate, we wanted it to be an important plate to spin that you had a real good gameplay experience out of.
So how long have you guys been working on this so far?
So we've been working on Grey Goo for about 18 months. It's been coming along greatly. We've been playing it for the last over a year through our own methodology of building the game. We started off on saying, hey, build everything up from scratch. Let's play it on a board game first. Let's break it down to its ultimate baseline components, and then say, okay, well, how do we move it forward? From there, we said, hey, let's go ahead and play with units that were boxes, different colors, and stuff like that to get the experience then. And then we started crafting all the visual experience and tying it all together. At the same time, we were developing the lore that is Grey Goo for the game with Greybox. And the lore is a very rich world. We actually built the lore out into well beyond what we needed for it to create an RTS, but it's given us a great foundation to build a great game that has a great story in addition to a good gameplay experience. So when you go talk about Grey Goo, it does reference a lore that is common that everybody can get
like the namesake.
Yeah, exactly. It's the namesake of the game. And as a result of that, we have a rich lore, like I said, I was talking, that does kind of center around the idea of what is Grey Goo, which is that apocalyptic event where nanites self-replicate everybody.
Right. And
then just you're kind of swallowed in this Grey Goo. We have 3 factions in Grey Goo.
Okay.
We got the betas, the humans, and the Grey Goo. And each of these 3 factions lends itself to a specific type of play style that someone can find their home in. So if you're someone who's like a turtler, you like to build big bases, we have a faction for you that's going to feel really well and make you feel at home. Where if you're someone who's extremely aggressive, you just want to go out and kill your player, and base building some of those other elements may feel awkward or not right. We have another faction that lends it toward that, and we have it's that whole spectrum of in between those 2 extremes that we really kind of cater to.
Very cool. I mean, I guess one of the biggest challenges in RTS is like balancing it all out, right?
Yes.
And I mean, is that one of the hardest things for you guys to do in terms of like taking these 3 diverse factions and just making it so that like they all have their advantages and disadvantages, or have you guys like kind of gotten it down where you just know exactly how to kind of get that formula right?
Well, balancing the 3 asymmetrical factions has been a big challenge. It is trying to figure out where does it lie, how do we keep that balance, and it's an ongoing process for us. I mean, we're balancing it. We've been playing it for over a year, so we've been balancing it for over a year already before we even bring it to the public and with our upcoming closed alpha and beta that's coming out.
Very cool. So can you see the action?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the action.
All right, I'm excited to see it.
So we're loading up here. We're loading up onto a map here that you're going to get to see in a second. This is what we refer to as the wetlands biome. It's going to have a lot of the terrain features that we feature in Grey Goo, and there's a couple features that we have that you won't see on this map, but it'll be there. We're starting with the beta faction here. What you can see, and this is the faction that is the entry race for everybody. Basically, you'll be able to find whether or not you like base building, be aggressive, what the style you best fit towards or what goes to with this faction.
This is where I start. And
Yeah.
try to figure out like what bar I fit in Grey Goo.
Exactly.
Okay.
So here we go. You can see we're going ahead and building a refinery here. Now, like I said, we went back to the basics of deciding what was important in the game. You know, that entire idea that I raid your economy, I kill, destroy units, and then, you know, what degrees of the impact that has on the player is something we took a lesson of, right? When you go in and interact with the person's economy, you're really hurting how much, you know, not just their immediate, but also their future development and what they're going to be able to produce. So when we go and build a refinery here, we designed it up so that you can have different degrees of that.
Right.
So right now you can see, you know, there's the harvester coming in and out, and then there's the extractor that's actually getting the resources from the ground in there in the upper left, and you can see the actual refinery itself. Now, the way that all works is you can go and raid someone's refinery line, and by doing so, you're just hitting the immediate. You're not necessarily hitting their future of what their economic impact is. You go hit the extractor, you're taking that supply line down, you're taking the extractor down. It's going to take him some more time. It's a bigger hit, but it also still doesn't hurt his future. If you wanted to go and say, hey, I'm going for the throat, I'm just going to tear your economy down, you're going to go straight into the refinery itself and blow that up.
Right.
And so you got that varied about how much it takes to actually interact with it, how much, you know, as an attacker, how much do I need to commit to actually destroying or getting towards my objective? Do I need to slow you down a little? Do I need to slow you down a lot? So here you can see some more of the resources on the map, and when we go ahead and turn on the map resources by clicking the bottom, that icon right there underneath the tech upgrades,
Right.
it actually shows you some of the layouts. So when you're going and placing resources and choosing where you want, you're looking at the density of the map of the resources to try to find where the most dense resources are,
Right.
and figure out how to play with it. One of the cool things, advantages to this, is that it's initiated a gameplay where we can create field layouts that, let's say, go underneath terrain. You know, one side, your enemy might be mining one side, you're mining on the other, and you're draining it really, really
Exactly,
quickly.
right.
And it's one of those elements that's there. It's the fun strategic elements that we really kept. The rebuilding of, you know, of harvesters or that kind of micromanagement doesn't exist because it's not really fun to do, right? It's a maintenance task that was there, but it's not necessary for the gameplay to have the great economic. There's a real still way to keep both together. So here we went ahead and said, hey, we're going to go ahead and build a factory, start some of our unit production up. We got 2 refineries going. Now we got our base units here going, saying, hey, here's 2 units we can produce for us, right? Well, you really are now faced with choices for the gameplay player. We wanted everything to be a choice that would matter. In the gameplay there, we were looking at the HQ that has those 4 ports that you can connect things up to and create this facility.
Right.
We want you to have these choices of, do I want to expand the facility? Do I want to create, like we did here, a second resource node? Or do I do another factory that's going to be able to expand out more of what type of unit? Or do I attach technology to it and expand the diversity of what I can build, right?
Right.
So here we go on this secondary hub that we just created that has 2 connections. We're throwing down a factory. Per se. Our main 8 and then that base right there, yeah, there you go. We're going to go ahead and be able to create not just our base unit, but also tech buildings. And now you can see our AIs are kind of coming over here and harassed us, so we're going to go and kind of return the favor to them.
So everything looks absolutely badass in terms of the structures and the animation. So what was regards to that, obviously put like a ton of detail into kind of how everything moves and interconnects. It all feels very like fluid. So
we spent a lot of time working with Greybops, with Weta Workshop, and doing a lot of concepts internally on making sure that we had a visual communication that was important to the player. Every aspect of this visual communication was thought about. So, for example, you look at those factories, and when they're building something, you actually see what's being built. We actually made that as a conscious decision. We didn't just want a factory churning. We wanted to show you what unit could be built. So as you as a player are thinking, well, where do I want to build this? But as an attacker coming on into the beta base, you're thinking, well, which of these factories is more important to hit,
Exactly,
right? That's what we wanted to give the player to make choices of, not just, okay, I'm clicking here.
yeah, that's awesome. So
So you can see there we're kind of defending our base here as the AI kind of gives it a little bit of a good push here.
how many like different structures like are there?
So there's the 4 tech facilities. There's 2 different factory sizes. Now, one of the things we did with factories is we said, hey, it's unit production, but it doesn't regulate type. It only regulates quantity. So a large factory lets you produce 3 units at a time, while a small factory lets you produce 1 at a time. So you're really looking at, well, what is it that you want to assign? Now, the betas, they're all about customization and modularity. So it's really saying, hey, what do I want to put here? What do I need this factory to build? And customizing each of these hub layouts to be what you need to be.
So it's awesome. So it comes down to like, you know, your decision making, like your bigger decisions versus like all these little micro decisions you're making, right? So it's,
Right. We didn't completely cut out the micro. We kept the important micro that was in there. When you're trying to control units, whether you decide you want to kite with units or, where I'm moving my army, that positioning is still very important. But we took away a lot of the micromanagement that you just don't have fun with, right? We wanted it to be fun. If you're thinking about it, it's all there.
So can you tell me about the multiplayer, like the multiplayer aspects of it?
So one of the cool things we did with multiplayer is we kept multiplayer and single player the same. When you play the single player campaign, we're teaching you the lessons you're going to need to go into multiplayer. You don't have a whole set of units that are different in single player from multiplayer. They're the same units, and it's the same interaction. One of the things we're developing is we actually have an AI that's based off of a JPL concept that we're using that actually allowed for us to make an adaptive AI. So our AI is actually going to, when you play it, it adapts to whatever your playstyle it is. So when you go and it scouts you and it says, hey, there's these types of units, it's not going to necessarily follow a predefined build order. It's going to adjust its gameplay so that when you play against it, it's going to say, hey, you know what? You're coming at me with air. I need anti-air. I might like tanks.
Right.
If you're not going to tell me, if I don't see anything else and I'm just be like, I'm going to build whatever it is, I'll build with tanks or I might build air. But it's going to adapt to the playstyle it needs to, of what you bring against it. This is one thing that was really core to us, because we really felt that one of the best things is people play skirmish a lot, right? They play skirmish because they don't want to get into multiplayer. But they want to play it and have a great time and feel that interactivity. But we wanted it to be an experience that when you're playing skirmish and you're playing against an AI, it's already kind of prepping you. You're starting to play that same metagame and adaptability of what a human player would bring to you.
Right. Oh, very cool. So, what are you most proud of so far? Like, as like, like, you're building this like awesome RTS, and what like is like, what are you most proud of?
Oh wow, that's a tough question.
I'm
I'm
sure
proud of a lot of all of it. I mean, we have a great team to work with.
Right.
It's been great working with all of them and what they bring forward. Working with Greybox has been awesome. They're very much about the creativity of making a great game. That's always been the first and foremost. And the fact that we can keep that vision in online of, hey, we're making a great game. It's gonna be a fun experience. We want to cater to as many people as we can, but we want it to be something that, we're not isolating anybody out exclusively. We're not saying this is only for the esports crowd or this is only for the casual campaign gamer. We wanted to give an experience that everybody could partake in. And that's really been, I think, from a lot of the feedback we've been getting here at PAX, it's really hitting that goal. And I think that the biggest thing to be proud of is the game as a whole. Everybody's working together, the entire cooperation of it.
Yeah, and I mean, for 18 months, it looks like it's came together like really well so far. So, I mean, how far are we from being able to like get our hands on some Grey Goo?
So we're right now getting ready to very soon after PAX do a closed alpha and get into the beta and everything after that. And the game's set to release in the fall of 2014.
Wow, where can people go to get more information? Like.
So we're going to be rolling more information out, definitely here at PAX, and then we're going into more depth with a lot of the units. E3, we have some more stuff that we're going to be revealing, and then there'll be more stuff coming out.
Very cool. Can we check out some of the other factions?
Yeah, let's go take a look. I think
and the Grey Goo. I mean,
yeah. So
I think of the names are the Grey Goo? Is the Grey Goo faction like the advanced Uber like? I don't know what to think if it's if a faction named after the game. I mean,
yeah. So
got some high expectations.
Yeah, there is some expectations there. The Goo itself is it's a faction based. It's actually structure independent. So it actually does not require you to build bases out there. It has a very mobile thing. I think the best way to describe Grey Goo is something that it's flexible, mobile, and fun. And that's really what we say is important about Grey Goo as far as how it all interacts and how you play with it.
Right.
And then what you decide and how you interact with it. We're going to be revealing a lot more of that here soon in the near future, I think.
Oh,
as
sorry.
well. No worries.
Yeah. All
right, so we're actually you can see some of the human stuff that's going on here. There's the AI is kind of sending a force over here to give us a little bit of trouble. There you can see the air scouts going and moving around as well. So we took, like I said, the lore has really been really lush and diverse that lets us think about it. So here you can actually see the human base. Now, like I said, each of the factions is unique. They are an asymmetrical design.
Right.
They do definitely build each differently. So where the beta have these power hubs they place over and then build small facilities, the humans are all about we have one central power core. You know, basically you can almost think of it as like Skynet is right sitting there in the middle of the thing that provides power to all the buildings, and it's developing a base that you're going to want to build and channel out to and figure out how to best disassemble it as you come after it.
So what stops an opponent from like just wanting to go after that? That's obviously the base. Is this very well defended, or like what's
the base is going to be very well defended, but there's a lot of terrain features that go along with the map as well. So.
Right.
You know, when you're moving around the map, there's resources. You know, you're going to want to try to shut your player's economy down, but there's also strategic elements that go with forests where we implement in the game. And we took a different approach to it to say, hey, forests are things where you're going to hide your units, where you can actually start playing guerrilla warfare.
Oh.
I put units in the forest. I'm going to hide them. I might be able to hold off an army just with 5-6 units because you can't see what's in here. So you as an opponent are going to be like, hey, do I want to rush you right now? Do I want to go in that and see if there's a big army in there, or is there not a big army? And how it is, and it's tactical, strategic elements on the map besides just the economy that matter, whether it be elevated high ground or the forests or strategic choke points or just open areas even.
Right, it sounds like an awesome opportunity for I want to place some units in my forest, try to lure some troops towards it, and then it's ambush.
Exactly.
So yeah, that sounds like awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun strategic gameplay out of it.
Can I hear a little bit more? Are there any other environmental strategies in terms of hills or
So we did do elevated terrain, so where its line of sight is basically blocked, where if something's higher up on you than below, so if you're basically on a higher level of tier, you can see below, but the guy below you can't see up. But now when you start playing with the vision, it's kind of like, well, if I bring an aircraft, I can see up there, so therefore I can shoot up there, right?
Right.
It's that whole management. And the way the goo actually interacts with that terrain in that environment is very key to the game. So when you play against a race, you're not just playing a specific way, right? You're thinking about how you have to adapt against who you're playing. Are you playing the same faction? Are you playing a different faction? The way you play against someone that's a human player is very different than the way you play against a goo player. You can't just say, hey, I got one strategy, I'm sticking to it. You're really about, hey, I'm playing this game, I'm adapting to what I'm going to be facing and interacting with it.
So to be an effective player, you have to not only know the race you're using, you really need to understand your enemy.
You need to know how to fight your enemy, right? You don't necessarily need to know how to play your enemy, but you just need to know what it is that you're going to want to do to deal with that enemy.
Right. So what I love about RTS is just building my city, building my resources, and getting to those super high tier fighter units. So what do the humans have up there? Well, I don't know if we'll be able to see that with the time it takes to kind of build up. But can you tell me about the top tier fighter units?
So every single faction, actually, we have a class of units we're referring to as our epic class.
Epic class.
And each of those epics are really something that's a centerpiece of the army. Like if you were to really think, hey, what if I was the commander and I'm going to go into the field, what is it that I'm going to want to be in, right? How am I going to pilot and command all my troops? And for each race, there's something unique that we've designed up for it. So for the humans, they have this giant robot that's basically against that. You're sitting at the core of this robot, and he's got this big energy shield that when you fire at it, it starts to overload, and then the overload itself explodes and then forces units away from him. The other benefit is he also has this really powerful laser that just kind of burns into the ground and streaks and destroys enemies at will. So, you can imagine as being a human commander, things are shooting at you, you're this big target, you explode, send things flying, and the next thing you know, you have this big laser beam just cutting through the enemy troops, right? It's an experience that really makes you feel like a real powerful commander. A badass, right, exactly.
That's how I want to feel when I have my huge-ass robot on the field. The entire game, wait and bring this puppy out, and I'm just going to wipe them out. Yeah,
exactly. And then the betas have the same thing. The betas have this big flying battle fortress. So it's a really fun experience for everybody.
Awesome. I cannot wait to play. And is there anything else you want to leave viewers with? I'm really excited to play. And yeah, anything else you want to share?
Well, we're excited to have everybody play it. You can visit greygoo.com to sign up for the beta.
Right.
We're here on the PAX floor. Come visit us if you're nearby. Trying to think if there's anything else that
I'm signed for the beta immediately. Hope you guys help me out here.
Yeah, well, definitely can't wait to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me
Thank you.
here. Awesome, guys. Can't wait to play. Thanks, guys.
Yep.